With winter fast approaching, Freiburg faces danger from many corners. Freiburg's defenses are still in the planning stages, army unraised and untrained, and the specter of starvation looms over the city's swelling population. Rosa Nix has been offered patronage by the Queen of the Unseelie Court. Acceptance will transform her and remove her Lorenzo heritage and the influence of Mad Queen Marietta. Arthur Wolfe has taken an oath to be the Ruck of Logan Seeger, the Iron Prince of Freiburg. A foray into Bryn Brissail, the lands of the Fae, was cut short and has not been seen since. Gav the Grin has offered a proposal to one Hannelore Erhoff. The joyous moment was followed shortly by discovery that he was to be not only a husband, but a father of twins. Len Costin has sheltered Kathrinia Fischler Dimitrotova, the widow of Gaius Ilya and the Matushka-appointed successor to the throne of Usura. Posen moves to intercept the army of General Montague, but Len and Kathrinia move to warn the general of imminent danger.
Honorine Rosemarie to feign Seiss du Seiss struggles to create a safe harbor for members of the Seiss du Seiss family. Her aunt's position in court grows more tenuous with each day, while Honorine's cousin Charlotte seems blissfully unaware of the dangers. Hans Ulrich has been returned his memories by the Skottenmand. Hans has discovered he was a Reifenstahl, former Imperators of Isaac. He rides, with more company than he expected, to free his sister from Hilgrin's treacherous ghosts.
Runa Ingvild's daughter returns from Bryn Brissail with treasures of the Revenge and a last moment with Red. She is burdened with more questions than answers about the runes, Valhalla, and her mother. Above all lingers one question. What is Herja planning?
So we open up on the city of Freiburg, in as the last of the Wakund are coming back to the area that they took as a camp, and settling into place. There's still some things that they're working to figure out of exactly what they're going to be doing with Kirby Loring's body, but for the moment they know that they want him to have a burial at least near Freiburg, a city that he spent years in and has many connections to still. The return of the Wakund is definitely noted by the groups around, and some of the Master of Arms immediately sort of like breaks off back to the encamped tents that surround the city, starting to look for more mercenaries to fill the ranks of those who fell. Finding more people ready and willing to fight is not as hard as is not as difficult as finding those capable of doing so, because long-term lack of nutrition and stuff like that is more the issue than finding veterans with experience. The war left more veterans than not. But we close into some kind of happy reunions between Len and Rosa and everybody that had been on the road. Some concerned, the sisters being reunited, friends seeing each other once again. The fact that they were clearly accompanying a casket on the way back probably sent up some alarm bells for Len and for Rosa, but seeing that none of the council members are in it. Runa is getting greeted by Jairus and by her cousin and Brandy. Hans is kind of, in the position of now having his sister traveling with him, which is going to be adaptations across the board. She's no longer wearing like the complete rags that she was. She's found like a proper dress, but she's dressing like a peasant, not like a noblewoman, and that's a very deliberate choice on her part. Gav, I'm sure can't wait to see Honorine here, not Honorine, Hannelore again. He's always happy to see Honorine too, but not as much as Hannelore, who, covering him with kisses at the sight of him. Honorine has Anjay waiting there. Who at the first kind of like embrace, like reminds her that her place is closer on the way back than Honorine's. She'd like to spend the night and she's weary of the road. And
sounds like
Len
a wonderful idea.
Yeah, Len had said that they'd kind of been sure to arrange like a private dinner and stuff like that. I'm gonna assume that it's gonna be like 8 hours later, giving people time to like get some rest, wash up, kick the mud off, like that kind of thing, and then they can go into sort of like debriefing after having a little bit of time to rest and recover and change into clothes that they haven't been wearing for 2 weeks. Some of them literally, like Gav, who ran out without any supplies or clothes.
Gav's used to wearing the same, thing for days and days at a time.
He's probably used to being able to wash it. So we will cut ahead to, I'm going to assume that the dinner is at the Bear House, or meal prepared at the Bear House. For Len, so covering for Rosa for tonight, Wilma is planning to attend, but there is an event happening at the city hall tonight, and Rosa is basically covering so that Wilma can be there. So
it's fair. That'll, he'll make sure to share what she felt was good to share.
All right. So we'll pick up at the Bear House with, tables have been pushed together because, normally they're kind of designed to seat like 4 people when they're like while they're watching the opera, that kind of thing. But they've been pushed together, chairs moved in around them, a couple meals brought in from the local vendors over. I assume like they're not trying to like have something like privately catered or something. It's just like, let's get some real meal in front of everybody. Yeah, it's more like we might be working late. Let's order takeout.
Yep.
Together. So,
it'll probably be nice for them to have like a hot non-camp style meal for everybody. And make sure there's, wine and assorted drinks.
Fresh bread.
Fresh bread. And just real quick, so are we gonna like do a little of this and then cut to the intros or everything? Because you said there wasn't gonna be cold open, and now we're.
Actually, let's go ahead and do that real quick. Because in skipping the cold open, I skipped the part where I normally do all the introductory stuff. So, and I also just realized that I haven't posted Going Live yet, so I was like, oh shit.
Things are a little disjointed this week for everybody.
Yeah, we had a week off and I forgot how to do all this. That's what happens. All right, so thank you everyone and welcome to the Shadow of the Wachtturm. Our producer tonight is one of the moderators of Dirty 20 Gaming, the delightful, compassionate Gloriosa. Our lore master for the series is the beautiful and benevolent Syndra. Before we get started, I wanted to give a content warning. While the spirit of Seventh Sea is a swashbuckling adventure and shadowy intrigue, the story will deal with mature themes, including death, loss, suicide, and grief. Eisen, our setting, is recovering from a 30-year civil war over religious differences. It may get dark sometime, and there's no shame in bowing out if it's not a place your head can go at the moment. So, without further ado, I'm going to have our savvy swashbucklers introduce themselves, starting with Runa.
Hi, I'm Ruth.
I am here today as Runa. I'm also here Tuesdays as Exit, alternate Wednesdays as Trek, and Thursdays as Nora. And that's about it from me. I'm gonna pass it over to Gav.
That's me. Hi. I'm Bison underscore Stonefist. Tonight I'm playing Gav the Grin, our big lovable suplex machine. I just sort of combined a bunch of things I normally go with. I'm here 4 nights a week. I've been here for a long time, so I'm kind of just always here. Tuesdays I run the game. I use that term loosely because it's kind of a car with no brakes kind of deal. That's Carnage Heights. That's Cyberpunk Red. On Thursdays, I play Garrett. He used to be a wallflower. Now he's kind of like the local anarcho-punk. That is for our City of Mist campaign, Deviant Paradox. And on Saturdays, I play Calvin Scooter Hobbs, lovingly referred to as Big Scoots in the chat. He is a stone wall, literally. That's Thursdays. Saturday's Scoots. He's a legitimate captain now. It says so on the badge. That is our Iron Sworn Starforged game, Starsworn. Trust me, it's a lot harder to get that right than you think. It's a very unique system, 4 players, 4 GMs. They're all the same people, and none of us know where the plot's going. It's the most unique system I've ever played. I wholeheartedly tell people to try it out if you can. And that's all that I do other than post memes in the Discord. So let's take it to Backout.
Hi, folks. It's me, Bat Kyle. You can find me right now pretty much only on Sundays playing Len. My spear was near me, so of course it was safe sex Costin. You can find me on the Discord posting unhinged food memes and in the chats of many of these other games, trying to break people or, at least get them to groan and shake their head and wonder why I am the way I am. I kind of have some ideas for some other games, but that's further down the pipeline. Over to Honorine.
That was a little abrupt, but thank you. Hello, I'm Blaze of Gloriosa, better known around here as Glory. I also haunt the Discord probably more than is healthy. I'm here producing on alternate Wednesdays for Oracle Force. I produce on Thursdays for Deviant Paradox. And now I'm here on Fridays for our Shadowrun-ish Gibsonian adventure that's just getting started. We have had one session, and I think it went pretty well. Went well. I have my own channel, and I am actually launching a much anticipated, much enjoyed, looked forward to return on Wednesday at 6 Pacific. So I will be streaming on my own channel this coming Wednesday, since it's not an Oracle Force Day. And tonight I'm here as Honorine, our resident noblewoman and fish keeper, who is more than happy to have her rest at Anjay's house, since it is closer to where she was than her house. It's very restful. She had a very restful stop at Anjay's place. Have we done Rory yet? Let's go talk to Hans.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rory. I'm here tonight playing the many-titled Mr. Leg Day, everyone's hopefully favorite soldier boy.
You!
Hans Reifenstahl. Go back to the last episode for why he's got a new last name.
I will never get used to that.
It's gonna be weird for the next couple of intros probably, but yeah.
I know that's not a last name any player would have picked for their own character. I'm fully aware.
There's lore reasons for it. Go watch last episode if you're confused. Do it now. Yeah, aside from playing
link in the chat
game. aside from this wonderful game with these wonderful people here on Sunday, I play Graviton in the Oracle Force game on alternating Wednesdays. Oracle Force, the Masks, a New Generation campaign, hosted by the Scarred Adventurer.
Wholesome.
And it is quite wholesome, all things considered. And outside of fun games on Dirty 20, you can find some musical projects on SoundCloud. Last time I hyped it up and it was like, there's probably gonna be more stuff on there soon. And now I'm like, probably not. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the background. So a lot of stuff getting reworked. So there probably won't be new stuff for a little bit, but keep an eye out anyways, because there's cool stuff happening behind the scenes. Same goes for Twitch. That's about it. There's gonna be stuff happening eventually. With that, see you also.
Right. In the ancient days of Numa, the great storyteller and philosopher Sarah's the wiser once noted that adventure can only begin in one of three ways: by death, by slur, or by letter. To begin with that of one of these incitements is folly, tobacco best described as an indiscretion, dalliance, an escapade. But fear not, we begin tonight, properly girded with a death, the most inescapable of the three, and thus the most powerful. And I think it's probably like I think the person who was the closest to Kelby Loring was probably Hans, so I think I want, the camera's kind of like focusing in on him in the moment before like the dinner's coming in and stuff like that. He's like recovered his sister, but he's lost somebody who was a friend. How is he doing with all of the changes in his life at the moment? Like he's always been a fairly stoic soldier boy. So
there's probably a lot of internal stuff going on, a lot of thinking in general, pondering the fate of the Wakund now that they're semi without a leader. Still just kind of shocked by the whole thing of like his sister is actually alive and that wasn't a crazy like Shadow Forest hallucination dream or something. It's the he's waiting for the reality check to happen.
Yeah,
kind of like he's like, this is awesome, but like something has to go weird now, right? Something's got to go wrong at some point.
Yeah, the Scat Man wasn't lying to him, wasn't tricking him.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, where's the catch? Is probably a lot of what's going through his head right now. And also kind of thinking about what they're gonna do now. Because for the last little bit, he's kind of felt like he's felt like the council has been a little bit less focused on like a big objective, and that's been a little bit weird. Everyone's kind of had their own side quests and like other missions, and he's just kind of been like, well, I guess I'll just go back to work. I don't know.
Well, and so I think Hans has not been fully like brought up to speed yet by Len about like, Montague's army moving in and Posen moving on it. So let's go ahead and cut over. I assume Len's kind of probably going to be catching them up on what's been going on politics wise in and around. So let's cut to that.
Okay.
I wanted to check in on Hans's headspace since.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, well, and once the food's been passed around and everybody's kind of started to eat, he'll just collect his thoughts for a moment and then look around and be like, well, so here's what's been going on while you went off to storm the castle. The same general who we found that letter for and who kind of conquered Asura and then was betrayed in Asura and then escaped, kind of was let go out of Asura. I went there with Kathrinia because he was right on the border of Asuran lands and Posen lands. Pretty much, it was kind of a tactical, as long as you leave, we're not going to do anything to you. But there were still a bunch of people spying on him and, bird form and such. Kolshe was there advising him, which I found very disturbing. If you don't know who Kolshe is, he's effectively a demigod who works for Matrushka, kind of. When he's not working for himself, he is usually a villain, sometimes something of an anti-hero in our stories, and as is usually the case, he's much more complicated than either of those would indicate. We've worked out before, apparently, whatever you guys did to the ghosts, we've worked out a deal where rather than have him having to fight Posen, who, as we know, is terrifying and probably one of the best generals there is, and was spoiling for a fight, we've arranged a corridor of sorts. It's a complicated deal. Your people made a lot of boats, he points at Runa. We bought a lot of boats and sent them up the river so his people could come down the river on the boats and not have to go into Posen lands or really go into Heelgren lands. They're arriving soon. They are arriving soon, right, too? So they haven't shown up yet.
They're like sending them as they get them because they don't have the space to store like 500 boats. So they have to send them down the river, get them loaded up. They're trying to like get a large enough number of them that they can move a significant portion of their horses at a time.
Yeah.
Because doing it like one boat at a time is just
asking for trouble.
Yeah. Okay, so we've been sending boats up the river to them. Once they have enough boats, they are going to bring their horses and supplies and people through. And then they're going to set up a safety corridor for what the city, Food of the City, is buying from the Fischler lands. As well as we brokered a deal for the food that normally some of the other Iron Princes would buy from Fischler lands, but are not, to be purchased by the army that is thankfully not invading us and not staying. So they're going to provide safety for the food coming through. They get some. They are paying good money for the boats, but are going to be selling them back once they're done with them. Not, of course, for the full price. They'll be used by that point. So there's still profit to be made and boats to be sold again. No food will go to waste, and Fischler lands will, Fischler will get coin that he needs and will not be stuck with a ton of extra food. We will be getting some extra food, which is always nice. I like eating. And after that, once they're settled or once they've all gotten here and kind of, I think, rested and recovered for a little bit, they're going to be pressing on and they will become the Emperor's problem. And
as Lynn has been explaining that Wilma has come in, she's just kind of like made a motion to like keep talking so as not to interrupt, but she's got like a large tray with her since she's kind of taking this like a potluck thing, like bring some food.
Yeah. Which is good. That's really been the main thing that I've been working on since y'all took off. Catherine, you showed up that same day, interrupted what was otherwise going to be a very nice night to be like, hey, I need to go negotiate some stuff. And I could not let her go alone. So she's currently staying in camp and kind of being a liaison while also being looks around. Everybody here knows that she's actually, like he's mentioned that she's the actual Gaius around all of these people, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. Yeah. Okay. While being kind of the unknown Gaius in exile, which is a whole other thing. I think that's going to need to be addressed at some other point. But
and Wilma kind of says Usura seems to have a very strange method of succession.
They kind of do, but that happens when you have a goddess who will directly let you know that she does not like what is happening.
She sits down. She has like a plate of fish with a side of like butter for it. One of the most common meals in northern Eisen is just like fish that's been cooked through and then butter's added at the last part of it. That's where the name of our title comes from, but it also has become an idiom in Eisen, meaning get to the point. Like when you butter the fish, like you've added the key ingredient. So Um, she says, we talked about this when you first returned, everything that was happening with Montague.
Yep.
I have, for some time, been cultivating connections in the court of every Eisen Iron Prince. And I called upon one of those that was in the camp of Posen herself, hoping he might shed some light on Posen's intentions. He's done a bit more than that. He was privy to a meeting between a delegate from the Rosette-Rhines family and Posen herself, in which a 10 million guilder bounty was placed on the head of Montague,
Nice.
alive or dead, to be brought to the Emperor.
That complicates things.
Guess I'm gonna have to fly a message.
I no longer believe that she is acting simply to protect your territory.
Well,
Was
good thing I'm
that
having a
ever-
fortifying meteor.
Was that ever the belief?
It was originally. I mean, she had this whole kind of battered, but a whole army, the remainder of Montague's army, right on her border with Asura. I don't think anybody would be very comfortable with that, especially knowing that they're going to want to come through. So at first, that was the thought. The Posen was just like, oh, you do not step onto my
Step off
lands.
my lawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, effectively.
Especially as Montague has successfully invaded not one but 2 countries.
Yep.
Is that?
I have a spy kitty.
You do have a spy kitty.
Yeah.
Meow, meow, meow.
Yeah, but she starts, cutting up pieces of fish and like sending a plate around so people can take what they want to.
Did your informant, I suppose, depending on the age of this information, did he know if she plans to pursue Montague into the lands of other Iron Princes?
I think that comes down to our estimation of Posen's character, whether she will or not. Certainly, if they are retreating into Heelgren lands, as there is no Iron Prince there right now, I doubt Posen would have any hesitation to set foot into his lands. I
Yeah.
don't think that, as much as I think the corridor is a good idea, it relies on outdated information. I think Posen will pursue Montague at all costs.
Yeah.
Where is Lemper getting that money? So out of character, Siosa, do I because Lemper just sold a nobility to Honorin's family, which
Yes.
indicates to me that he probably either maybe he's just super greedy, but it seems like he probably needs money.
The Emperor has created a system around himself which is unlike any other nobility that is out there, in which the vast majority of power and wealth is centered in himself instead of relatively distributed amongst a range of dukes and stuff like that. Ever since the first attack from the church in Montaigne, his power has been steadily centralizing. And now, there are entire families that are basically going broke, being stripped of their lands, and their lands being resold to other nobles. And he's ruthless about it.
Damn.
I withdraw the question.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah, no, I meant I withdraw the in character question about where is he getting the money for that?
Yeah, he probably has more money than anybody in the world, period, at this point.
Richest guy in the world is a dick.
What a shack. So Len's actually going to sit there and think for a moment before he goes. So if they actually do try to come down the river on those boats right now, they're probably going to be sitting ducks. if Posen is meaning to attack them, she can just line the river with archers and siege weapons and just,
Is this Posen's artillery corps is well drilled?
yeah. Well, it was nice seeing you all. I'll be back.
Just as it can wait half hour. Finish the dinner with us. She's like, I'll take the time to draft a letter of what I actually heard, so this Montague has it in writing.
Okay. From the sounds of it, though, we're actually going to need to possibly try and march him right along the edge of the Usura and Hilgren lands, and at least have him travel the border of Fischler to put as much space as possible between them.
What are his intentions when he returns to Montaigne? He intends to march on Charus?
Probably. We didn't discuss that really because that's not germane to my plans.
Well, I'm so glad that's not germane to your plans.
More he wouldn't say, but I got the intention that he wants his wife, and he knows he's going to have to march on the city itself to get her and his child. Assuming he knows about the child. I can't like at the time I couldn't remember if we were keeping that part of the letter secret from him.
I think you guys turned over the entire letter.
Oh yeah, we did turn their letter. Then yeah, no, but he knows about his kid. That's why part of the reason he's turning around, and he's willing to, siege the city to get his wife and child back. It's not even about power. He wants to be the new emperor. He wants his family.
Wilma she says, I'm not decided on a course of action yet, but if we want to give Montague a fighting chance against Posen, what does he need?
Food, healers, some time to recover. Out of character, what did Len knows camps and such? What did do they need more blacksmiths? He's been there a lot, yeah.
Primarily, so because they had enough losses, they don't need more guns, but they do need more ammunition and the like. Obviously, more troops to reinforce them would be lovely, but it's from a strategic perspective. It's probably just as valuable to have, if another army is available, like the Wakund or something like that, to have them be elsewhere, because that forces Posen to split her forces, especially if she doesn't know exactly the size of the force incoming, etc.
So possibly having the Wakund patrolling Hilgren lands, kind of along the river border.
Someone please remind me why we're not just letting them fight it out.
Part of it, as I understand it, is this Montague as part of the reason we're able to broker a deal for all this food. There's still, the ghosts are still a concern in Hilgren lands. That's majority wiped out and their headquarters annihilated and all that, but there's still roving bandits as well, unaffiliated bandits, which pose a threat to any convoy coming up from Fischler with any food we purchase. And that's the main thing, as I understand it, at least. What you were going to say something as well, then.
Yes, a couple reasons. One, I find Montague to be not only a fantastic general, but a honorable man, doing the best that he can in the situations he's been put in. He spared my life, and this feels like a way that I can in turn spare his when he had no reason to spare mine. No love for kindly what's happening in the capital. Whole bunch of reasons.
And you think if someone marches on Charus with an army, that the rich are going to die first? Is that what you think?
It's kind of the hope.
Oh, perfect.
I am with Honorine.
Look, I'm not a fucking planner, all right? I did the best that I could because Kathrinia, my queen in exile, asked for my help for this. So yes, I have a personal stake in it. I don't want another war, but there's going to be, I don't want a bunch of people who, went and fought for their country to be slaughtered for a bounty because the emperor doesn't want his best general to come back and reunite with his family because he fears that what's going to happen there, and that's what this is all about. You sent him off to die. He didn't die.
Wilma leans forward. She says, I think we're all agreed that no one particularly wants Posen and Montague to fight. That's going to draw in far more than just the two of them. And I also understand that Montague's return to Montaigne represents the possibility of a full-on civil war within the country.
He's going
that
to
is
attack
not to
my
be
city.
discounted.
Is it your city if all your family needs to flee? Aren't you trying to get them out because it's dangerous for your family and other families?
Fuck you.
No, fuck you.
Honoриne's just gonna stand up from the table. She's done.
No, you can
She's
stay.
Done.
I'm gonna go with
No,
Owl.
she's done. She's done. She's gone. She's leaving.
Wilma kind of stands. I'm going to go talk to Honorine. She looks to Len. She says, if you're going to talk to Montague, tell him that our help is contingent upon some idea of what he intends to do if he returns to Montaigne.
You can do that. You can go console
Runas?
Her Highness, who can be so overwrought over everything.
She's worried about her home.
I know she's
I don't
worried
know
about
much
it.
about politics, but I do know of the connection to home.
Yeah, so do I. My home was just invaded. I don't even know how many people died, how many people I know survived what happened. But I do know her family is still alive. And she was trying to get them out of this city because it's not safe. She said her aunt is effectively a fucking prisoner. But yeah, let's just, let things keep happening and let, the poor keep starving and let other revolutions keep happening. Let's just not let this one thing happen.
I just feel like that conversation could have been handled better on both sides.
Yeah, she and I never really see eye to eye, which makes, dating her sister kind of awkward, but it is what
I see
it
how
is.
that.
Wilma is following after Honorine.
Gav's like, so Hans, how about this fish? It's good, huh?
He's been very quiet, and he's just been like poking at his plate, and it looks like if anyone peeks over, this is a really funny thing that popped into my head. He's just been sitting here muttering about like leading from the front and leading from the back, and his food is sorted into like a tiny war. He's got like a tiny battlefield on his plate. He's like poking at things,
Runa,
like eating them.
Runa has probably been kind of focused on Hans the whole time.
It's like
because
playing out this like bunch of strategic maneuvers with his
With
food.
flakes of fish.
Like half
Here's the
paying
cavalry.
attention to everything. It's just like
she's not big on politics in the broader sense. So she's kind of been like, there's concern for Hans, so she's kind of been focusing on this and watching him like sort his plate.
basically playing one-person chess with his food.
Lovely.
The broccoli charged fish.
That's a lovely piece of art you have on your plate.
Wilma is just kind of like catching up to Honorine to the point where she can kind of just touch her shoulder.
I'm sorry, I don't want to talk right now.
She says, I respect that, but We're trying to figure out the welfare of your family, of Montaigne, of Eisen. And I think your opinion as a noblewoman is just as important to hear.
My opinion as a noblewoman is that the people in between Montague and L'Emperor owe their lives to the Emperor and are disposable. But what's setting up to happen is a broiler where you're going to have Montague outside of the city and you're going to have everyone inside of the city who's already starving and desperate, and you're going to have them pinned between the nobles and whom they hate, not unreasonably, and the army at their gates, and they're going to need somebody to turn on. And he can't just take Charouz. It's going to be a siege, and it's going to be awful.
Montague is, as I understand it, a hero in Montaigne, one of the few people that are still very well respected by the peasantry.
I worry that legend won't hold up to reality when he gets there.
She says, I've been surprised over and over by heroes that have disappointed me and by simple people who have been heroes in the making. She says, when I first met you, I would not have imagined that within a year I would be seeing you enter into battle in the sewers beneath Freiburg, as well as march off to war in Heelgrun lands.
I've been in the sewers a little more than I would really hope, actually.
My point being that I think Montague has the potential to surprise everyone. But I also think there is something to be said for helping to set him on a course that might cause the least amount of bloodshed possible. Something that we can do if we set ourselves up as his allies. The millions of guilder of bounty that have been posted upon Montague's head suggest one thing to me, which is that the Emperor is terrified of his return. And while I don't doubt that many of the problems in Montaigne are not purely the fault of the Emperor, I do believe that he is at fault for many of them.
He is a focal point. And a lot of people died in service of Montague for Montaigne. And he's not even coming back in triumph.
And she kind of, her brow knits and she says, did you lose someone?
A lot of people did.
That's not what I asked.
I don't know. Maybe. I certainly had people that I knew that were fighting in his army. But he's not even coming back a victor. He's coming back as an escaped captor who, I don't know. I don't know what the perception will be. But either way, he's coming back from essentially a pointless campaign.
It is a failure for which the Emperor would try to punish him, and no doubt try to punish all of those under his command as well.
And I don't think anyone would question his right to do so.
I think those who would are scared too.
So
I
you
see
have.
many.
Go ahead.
I see many Montaigne nobles coming into Eisen to negotiate, to speak with us, and some of them are as abhorrent as our own Duke Redmond. And many of them are wonderful people whose company I enjoy, who wish no unkindness on anyone, who treat the servants that work for them as family, and would bleed in the service of any cause they found honorable. Says to characterize all of Montaigne by the Emperor would be to sorely misjudge the Montaigne.
Well, I know that Montague isn't dumb enough to do that. He is Montaigne, right?
Yeah. He was a peasant who was trumped up to being a noble. So
I know he's not dumb enough to do that because he is Montaigne. And his family is on the line.
Says Len is going to be setting out to deliver a message to Montague shortly. Might I suggest that you go with him?
I'm inclined to take your suggestion because of the respect I have for you. But I cannot express how deeply I don't want to talk to this man.
The reason I'm asking you is because I need to know if Montague sees every Montaigne nobleman as an enemy or not. I think it will define every course of action from here on. Will it not?
Yes. All right.
She kind of squeezes on her shoulder. She says, and I think you and Len should have some time to work things out as well.
He's the stubbornest man. I can see why he gets along with my sister.
She comes from a place where people survive through the winter, largely by will alone. And she steps forward and she gives Honorine an embrace. She says, thank you.
He runs on stubbornness and spite and cat piss. Rory's face, I'm sorry, Rory's face just broke me.
She kind of smiles. She says, you have your aunt's tongue.
Oh, it's dangerous right now.
She nods.
Okay. Thank you.
And she escorts Honorine back to the dinner. And she looks to Len. She says, do you have a means? I know you have a number of animal forms. Do you have a means that could help convey Honorine quickly to Montague's camp? Or will we need horses ready for that?
Can she ride a bear?
She looks to Honorine.
I don't know. Is it like riding a horse? Is there a saddle?
Kind of like riding a horse, bigger. We can probably rig something up for you.
I suspect a pair of horses might be faster than trying to ride a bear.
And less attention grabbing?
Probably. Look, you asked. That's the one thing I have. Everything else is too small.
Wilma kind of sits back down and blows out a breath. Just looks to Gav and kind of like, you have barely had time to celebrate your engagement.
It is. The city is never stopping. And it seems the world does not want to not catch up.
She says, I don't expect that to happen any slower anytime in the future. Zucker would be delighted to arrange your marriage. The hall and all of the decorations and
He sort of looks to Hannelore. It's like, there are things I wish to do because I made the promise. But we will talk, and yes, I will give what we can to Zucker.
She nods. I mean, by the way, I'm assuming it's kind of just the PCs that are present, like not any of the +1s, because everybody has them. And my head would explode trying to play all of them at once in this conversation as well. So
That's
it's mostly for my sanity.
It's also, this is kind of like council business too.
Yeah.
This isn't exactly council business, but I felt I should warn you, Gav. I did not know that you still hadn't told Hannelore about the twins.
I thought they made it clear.
Oh no.
No, you
Wilma
just ran.
Wilma just shakes her head.
I am in so much trouble.
You said you would tell her, and then a while later, you just ran out of the city to go with everybody. So while I was checking in on her, I was making sure she was eating enough red meat, because she's eating for 3, and she seemed to not realize that she was eating for 3.
Wilma just kind of assures, like, she has a very short temper, and she had 2 weeks of worry to pit against it. I don't think you're in as much trouble as you imagine.
Go talk to Hannelore.
If I do not come back tomorrow, check the hospital.
I was thinking about that whole getting back out to the camp thing. If Runa wants to pilot, I think there's a boat about ready to go down the river. That would probably be the fastest direct way to get out there. I know you just got back yourself, but...
Last time, I tried to pilot a ship. Posen and I got exploded into the water.
I doubt that was your fault, given the number of explosives people were aiming at Koenig Posen.
Yeah.
I know.
And you know what
I
they
just
say?
don't feel super confident right now.
When you get blown out of the water, you gotta just get back on that boat.
You could stay with Hans and see if he needs anything, if you care to. Or...
Oh. Apologies, I
or any companions.
Not paid as much attention.
Or any companions that came back with us.
I suppose we could always just hire a pilot.
Perhaps.
Well,
I will think about it.
Is Hans staying here?
I have so much to catch up on.
Do you need help with anything?
I don't think so. It is all, it's all boring stuff. It's paperwork I have to catch up on. reports from my men in the district. Probably have to meet with what's left of the Wakund at some point. Have to there's a lot of meetings and paperwork.
Do we still have people from the Wakun in critical condition?
I think nobody's in critical condition at this point, like in the sense that anything can be done for them. It's like they're being kept warm, and if they survive the night, they're probably going to survive more nights, except like because you had several days back on the trip, so like they have an infirmary in motion, you know what I'm saying, where people are being taken by cart and medics and stuff like that. So
And honestly,
But
Runa
yeah.
was probably helping while they were on the move.
but she might have probably seen them all the way to like the Knights of the Rosencross, as they're considered by and large the best doctors in the city.
Yeah.
So Wilma says, Hans, you and I and Logan, I think, are going to have a lot of talking ahead of us.
Yeah, I think so.
I think the choice of Marshall has been reduced to one, and with that is going to come long discussions with those who have the financial ability to do so, to pay taxes within the city.
It is going to be quite a conversation with everybody. Whew.
It's going to be quite something to go over in the city. Is even the most minimal of taxes have never been collected. There's no infrastructure for any of it.
Yeah.
Most.
I think I'm glad I'm riding a bear. Riding with a bear.
Anyone is welcome if they would prefer to stay and be present at a conversation about tax rates and representation.
If I'm not needed here, although I think Brandy may have a problem with it, I wouldn't mind piloting the ship.
Be happy to have you at the helm, even if it's a tiny boat. It's like getting on a pony to learn to ride again.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of switch over to, cutting to individual people at this point. I think the dinner kind of breaks up, unless there's something else somebody really wants to bring up.
Yeah, let's cause another fight. Come on, who's got something? Gaff?
All right, so I'm gonna save this scene with Henri and Len and Runa to last. I'm gonna kind of go with Gav and Hans first, because I think their pieces are gonna be a little bit shorter. So by virtue of the fact that there's a discussion on the table as to taxes in Freeburg for the very first time. And there are a couple ways that they're considering pursuing it. It's not just the possibility of a tax on each person, because functionally there's very little way to effectively collect that in Freeburg.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So it's most likely either going to be a tax on housing or a tax on day-to-day goods. Does that make sense? Something that you'd pay on food or something similar, small mercantile taxes that would lead up to enough to fund what they need to.
Yeah, small sales taxes that would add up just across everyone needing to buy stuff.
Yeah, and the other possibility is taxing certain things that are kind of considered essential for the city's function, like milling flour. Everybody has to effectively pay to have flour milled, as well as things blacksmithed. Those things can effectively be monitored easily, because they produce so many other necessary goods. They can potentially lead up to something. There is nothing perfect, and housing tax is almost certainly going to be the most reliable source. And it also involves, the nicer your house, the more taxes you're paying. The bigger your house, the more taxes you're paying, etc. However, being proposed alongside that is the possibility of basically representatives, because the number of like nobles in Freiburg is so massively outnumbered by like the number of peasants, and they've been free citizens effectively for so long, that the only way for them to really swallow something like a tax is to get representation out of it at the same time. Does that make sense? And so at the very least, the discussion is kind of being put forward of like, we would like people to represent our interests in these discussions at the city hall. And Gav is approached by the people of I totally blanked on the name of Feinharth to serve as their representative, since he's the most well known there and he's been there like the longest. Felix might have had something to do with that, but also in general, like somebody like Hans, who is viewed as like, like a good captain and stuff like that, also isn't viewed as like their representative. Does that make sense? He's somebody who enforces the laws of like the nobility and stuff like that. Gav is of the people very much.
And I mean, even though he's not even 20 at this point, I mean, pretty much everybody in Finerherd has either knows Gav or has seen him.
They know him by reputation, if nothing else.
And his reputation
particularly
is pretty good at this point. It's like 30 some odd.
Yeah, well, and he's also particularly has a reputation of like being kind to children and taking care of them, which is a character thing. Is like, yeah, that works for us here in Finehearth because our interests are pretty simple. We want food, we want housing, we want to be able to take care of our families. Like, so like basically there's sort of a group that's large enough to functionally be able to say they represent Finehearth that approaches Gav and asks him to serve as a representative who will both attend the meetings and discussions and express the interests of Finehearth fairly, and also like come back and tell them what's going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I mean, he's honored, and he kind of waffles around it a little bit, but he does eventually accept.
And there's also like time that he's spending with Hannelore in kind of like the wake of she's having twins. She's they've gotten engaged. There's
I can see just one scene of like her trying to do her job, and every time she tries to do some lifting or some Gav's right there and does it for her.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things, like frequently like they're in the stacks and stuff like that, and Gav has noticed that anytime like he does like the masculine lifting and carrying of something for her, and like Felix's gang is not around, that has led to some things that would make him blush in the stacks of the records halls. Like, don't even get back to the small little quarters on time. As well as like she's very happy to like have him back safe and sound, and like she understands that Gav is who he is and like takes risks. She said it on the day of, and so there's several days of like just her kind of like reassuring, like I knew who you were, like I understand who you are. I don't object to you going off and doing the things that you need to do. I will worry, but I won't be angry about it.
I mean, Gav's mostly sorry that he didn't tell her.
She just kind of smiles. She says, "That's okay. The next time you put twins in me, you can tell me up front."
He doesn't have an answer for that because I don't have an answer for that.
And she just seems to enjoy like making him a little tongue-tied and like, grabs him by the chin and kisses him during it. There's also kind of discussions of like where they would like to live. Wilma is willing to kind of put some pressure on somebody to get a home available in Stonehold, the Steinhold, the center of the city for them, which is the closest for her. There's also the possibility that you get some property that's just across the bridge in Finehearth, which would be considerably cheaper. Thinking. And it's a little bit longer walk for her, but like, she's basically like across the Minute Bridge to the city hall at that point.
Yeah, and that is kind of what Gav is thinking. I mean, on top of the fact that he's now kind of being seen as the representative for the district, Finer Hearth is his home. It's always been his home. So to be from somebody who was born on the street, had literally nothing, and to now look and say, this is mine. And it still being in the neighborhood he grew up in. So it's very symbolic for him, but also at the same time, it's, you know, he doesn't want his wife to walk too far.
Um, and I think there's probably like a few days there of just like looking at some houses, doing what seems like a very routine thing of just like seeing what's available. A lot of times it's sort of like a trade, you know what I'm saying? Of like, we'd like this place, we'll help you find another place, etc.
Mhm.
Because there's a whole bunch of people outside who'd really like to have a home too. So,
Yeah.
And the there's also, real dangers in Fine Hearth of like fire and overbuilding and stuff like that.
And
Are
he lives,
considerations with the home
yeah,
there,
and I
but
mean, like living on the street in Freiburg is different than living in a home in Freiburg, and living in like having his own place gives Gav kind of an additional perspective. So, I mean, yeah, that he fine heard.
um the and it's I think there comes a point where they kind of find a place that's like, first of all, it's like 4 stories tall but built thin and narrow. Does that make sense? Almost everything in Fine Earth has been built too high because they were
Yeah.
trying to take in so many like residents and stuff like that. It also is one of the few that's kind of like against the water and would have like a waterway access, so it effectively has a basement.
So what do you think?
Um, she's like, there are so many stairs, um, and she kind of she thinks about it, and she's like, I don't know yet. She says, there's a thought that I keep having. Um, she says, there's Felix and all the boys, and I think you've talked to me before about setting up a proper school for them.
Da.
Um, she says, and if we do that between the Hall of Records and an orphanage of any size, we're going to have to live on that property.
And there's not enough room here.
She shakes her head. She says, so as nice as it is as a place for us, I don't think we're really looking for a place for just us, are we?
I want to do right by Felix.
She kind of smiles and squeezes his arm and like stands on tiptoe and kisses his cheek. She's like, then we'll keep looking. We have time.
Da.
I'm gonna cut over to Hans, who has he has a lot going on with his sister at the moment. She has never been in a city the size of Freeburg before. Nothing even close. Like the biggest city in Hilgren lands, I think, is like 75,000 people. And Freeburg is 700,000 people. So, and when she saw the biggest city in Hilgren, she did it from a carriage with like the blinds down that she was like peeking through. Literally, one of the most important things in protecting her was like keeping her face hidden from the world because she grew up in the middle of a civil war. So when she saw places outside of it, it was brief and it was heavily escorted. So for her, getting to be outside in a dress and have nobody know who she is positively magical. Like the first time she goes to a market and just buys food and eats it, she keeps like her attitude is like she expects to be sort of like tackled to the ground and like dragged away, like and arrested at some point because she's just never had those sort of like liberties. Does that make sense? And just walking them into like the shuffle of people and nobody knowing who she is and everything is just sort of like a superpower. Because she spent her entire life like being protected and sheltered and kept away from people, and and she learned for a while to kind of like survive and pretend to be a servant and stuff like that, but that was still inside of like walls that were her prison.
Yeah. Very different experience up here.
And at the same time she has a very deep concern about like what's happened with Hans. Does that make sense? It's kind of an awkward conversation that comes up like briefly and then is like let go again. You know what I'm saying? She also takes very naturally like taking care of Otto. It's just wholly like the moment she kind of understands, oh, he's a Watson, and oh, he means something to my brother. Like there's like a new like he comes back like the next day and like she's cut his hair and like done it carefully, styled it for him, gotten him into like a shirt coat and like done all of the things to kind of take care of somebody that like somebody who's paid to check in and stuff like that isn't investing the time and energy. Does that make sense? So
Okay.
And there's like a small degree of kind of like more responsiveness almost immediately like to her presence. Does that make sense? Like his head will turn when she starts talking, and he's not like responding or anything like that, but it is like a physical response. So and it also gives her like something to do to occupy her time that isn't like wandering the city. Because it's like fascinating to her, but it's also like a little overwhelming. So it's kind of more like, I'm going to take a little trip out. Okay, that was good. Now I'm going to go back. Now I'm going to go out.
Yeah.
So
that's understandable. This is a like whole new environment.
Yeah, and you understand it like just by seeing it how much she's really not ready to be a rifle install again. She's not like. And there's like a night or two where she just like wraps her arms around him and just kind of like leans her head against him and just like makes manifest that he's real. Does that make sense?
Oh.
And not a ghost and not a figment of her imagination.
I think at some point, if she really is curious, you sit her down and tell her the whole story of how he came to kind of be the way he is, probably omitting some of the more unsavory portions of being dead and some of the other events more recently that have led to his stranger appearance.
Well, and she, like the others in the council, or she like, unlike those in the council, she sees that sort of like masked glamour of Hans. Does that make sense? The one that's not like partially monstrous. Mm-hmm. And it actually takes sort of like a concerted moment where he's just really trying to have her like see him. And he can tell the moment that she does because there's sort of like a gasp and then like eyebrows like shooting up and and then her hands go up like very slowly to kind of like explore the pains of his face and like be near his eyes. She does kind of peel back his lips as if expecting like he might have fangs or something. But like and it's something that sort of it soothes something in her. Does that make sense? Like he came back, it wasn't without cost, but that's like a more finite and understandable thing than just return from the dead. No one knows why.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? She says, I only know the Scott men by legend.
Yeah, there is a lot more to him than the legends speak of. I think I don't know something about his. There's something about him that makes me feel like he was mistreated at some point. Maybe even before he became whatever he is now. I think his state did not come without a heavy price either. It's strange knowing knowing a creature of such legend that you think to be a horror, a terror, a beast, a monster, whatever you may call him. It is strange to sometimes you just speak to him like he's a person. I know it's probably something you just could not. You know, this is ridiculousness, I know, but it is. I think there's more to more to our world than we give it credit.
She says, whatever his reasons for doing so, the next time you talk to him, thank him for me.
Of course. I think he would be happy to know that you are safe now.
She says, I'm safer.
Yeah, it's much to be done before we are truly out of it.
And she rises, and she like reaches over and she like touches the bag at his side. She says, I was never taught how to defend myself as you were. It wasn't part of my lessons. She says, my lessons were to sit and be pretty and balance books in my head.
That is something we must change. It's something I'd be happy to teach you. But you know the stories of Van Posen, don't you?
Oh yes.
Well, let me tell you, it's maybe a long shot, but one day I think with some training, you may be able to be as big a legend as she, should you want.
I don't care about being a legend. She says, she kind of looks to the side, and then she says, there was a night where one of the ghosts men came into my room. Says as much as I try to hide it, he knew that I was becoming a woman. She says, and he had me pinned when a ghost killed him. Not one of the ghosts. She says, I saw General Strauss standing behind him.
Strauss. Huh.
Says he'd been years dead at that point. She says, and he stepped back into the shadows and he was gone. Says, and the man fell atop me, and the other ghosts, they thought I had poisoned him or something. They even took his body for autopsy, but without a blade having entered him, his heart had split in half. The skin in the front and back of his chest were intact, but his blood had filled his chest. She kind of, I hadn't told you about it, but I meant to. Says your life seems to be filled with strangeness, so I thought perhaps you might know more about ghosts.
I mean, yes and no, but I suppose he stuck around for that long for a reason. Must have wanted to see you safe, at least for as long as he could.
I don't anticipate I'll be able to count on ghosts rescuing me a second time.
Hmm.
She says
Yeah.
so.
You never know, but always better to be safe than sorry.
And so she, you know, there's a practicality. Hans is very busy days ahead of him. You know what I'm saying? He can, however, he lives fairly close to the academy with Johanna that teaches amongst them Eisenfaust. And, you know, female teacher, so would probably be well equipped to train somebody.
Yeah, that's a why not? So he'll probably broker a small introduction.
And he easily has I think the monthly funds to cover, you know, regular lessons for her. But you see her kind of
practice occasionally with her when he's off or when he's less busy.
Absolutely, and she appreciates the instruction. She does start out with like Eisenfaust because it's like the Eisen style.
Mm-hmm.
Although Johanna does suggest that the Castilian technique might be of more value to her since it has less emphasis on strength, and she doesn't have a ton of it yet.
Yeah.
But there are, you know, there's like plenty of nights of just sort of like reconnecting over like small memories. You know, the last time he saw her, she was like, I think 9.
Yeah,
somewhere in there,
I think
9
so.
or 10,
something like that. Yeah.
And she's very happy with things as they are at the moment, just not being in not being in Hilgrin's lands, like being with her brother again. There are like questions and mysteries ahead, but like this is the most stable she's felt about her prospects of survival in years, and her general safety. So I'm gonna move to the 3 that are boating down the river. Runa does catch up with Jarrus a little bit, like, hey, can I have one of the boats? I'm gonna take it down. And like the workshop, like everybody looks like they've been worked to the bone. Like they're making enough money and everything like that they're quite okay with it. You know, but they're tripling their normal rate. They've taken on like a bunch of apprentices just to kind of do a lot of like the scud work and focused on having those with experience focus on the boat building tasks that require some kind of experience. So his workshop has like people working anywhere they can find space. But he's, you know, he himself is very like, you just go back and you're leaving again.
I know. Perhaps I can help build so we can spend a bit more time together.
He says, I'm happy to have the help. You know, so
I know my way around tools.
He says, I'd say you kept one of these from sinking a time or two. A lot of the carpentry you learn as a sailor is like the, you know, improvisational get us to a port kind of fixes.
Yeah.
But
there I fixed it school of construction.
Yeah. It's like, that'll work for now.
Slap it twice. That ain't going nowhere.
But you know, getting to like really, you know, she had learned enough with her mother to like be able to build longboat like on her own. Not on her own, but like with assistance and stuff like that. It was just sort of like a normal part of the culture for them.
Yeah. Plus, she has better craftsman skills now.
And she does, and she also has like the kind of variety of inputs from different sources. Like she's learned a few things from like blacksmithing that have sort of affected how she looks at like boat building and like, oh hey, we could use these different kinds of nails and they'll hold a little bit better. And there's a ship that is almost finished up that they work through the night together to get it ready to go. And in the early hours before everybody's like gathered and stuff like that, he just kind of lays down in it with her to have a few minutes just to sort of snuggle and be near each other and spend time in each other's company before getting food onto it. And Len and Honorine are arriving early in the morning to where you're going to be going.
Has Runa gotten any sleep, and is that going to affect any skill checks?
It's going to be about like 2 days upriver and back. You know what I'm saying? During which time she's expected that she'll be trading out with other people, be like go straight. So she'll just be catching up on sleep like once they're headed. Once
they're like just kind of straight sailing.
Yeah, because there's parts of the river that are just like long, go straight, stay in the middle. Yeah. Wake me up if you see a boat coming the other direction. So
wake me up if you need anything.
Yeah. And there's not actually going to be like a piloting role, as there's not any danger at the moment for ships going upstream. Len and Honorine, it's a tense last meeting, but there's time on the ship with the three of you. There's probably plenty of like work to be done in the way of like learning how to like turn a sail. Well, actually, most of this isn't like sail work. There's a bit of oars.
Runa's teaching them how to tie knots.
Yeah. The sails are still built onto for like when the wind is going the right direction, you're happy to use it. As well as like the actual learning of like the piloting in the river and things like that. You guys are going upriver, which is a little bit harder, but mostly it means that you have to have like a lighter load than you would going downriver. So you can't carry much more than yourselves and the food you need for the trip.
And they could supplement with a little fishing and such. Len may not be a big boat guy, but he's definitely a big find your own food in the wild guy.
And you're definitely like sailing along parts of land that are like Posen occupied, and it's not hard for Len, as like a former person with some mercenary experience and stuff like that, to be able to tell conclusively the entire river is being watched. Everything going up and down is being watched by Posen's forces.
Well, honestly, just that first day, Len's just gonna heave a sigh and just be like, look, I'm sorry. There's a reason that I never actually made it as the spy they wanted me to be. I'm not a big picture thing. I feel like 90% of my time since I've arrived in this city, even with our little downtimes, has been running from one major thing that's beyond me to the next. I didn't think about what he was going to do when he left. I just thought my queen needed my help and wanted this to happen, and I saw the good sides for Freeburg, and that's what I focused on. And it's not easy for me to confront my shortcomings. Please, no penis jokes.
I think I'm not the only one whose home is not always the safest place to be. So I was surprised that you, of all people, would somehow think that that makes it any less my home.
I'm not gonna lie to you. At the time, I was just happy he was getting the fuck out of my country and my people were gonna stop dying. I know that that's not an excuse, and I'm sorry for being kind of flippant, but I was also kind of surprised That you're like, well, the emperor has my family hostage, and I need to get them out of there, and people are starving, and all these terrible things are happening. But the one thing that seems it might be a chance for change, I'm angry about, and I get that lives are on the line, but a change like this can't happen without blood.
Well, and an army is not going to make those situations any better.
No, they're really not. The only thing I have going is that Montague seems like a better person in all of our interactions than even when he was a prisoner than the Emperor.
We're going to
I
find
can't-
out.
We are. I can't see the future. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm a little tired of being the Herald of Doom. I'm not going to lie.
If
I
you
know
would settle far away from the city, I think you'd be much happier, honestly.
No, probably not at this point. This is my home. I care about what happens to it. I
Well,
can't.
Not like out, still close to the city.
There's
but-
there's flinging out there that we still haven't dealt with. No, we killed the one in the. Well, I'm not even talking about out of character for Gav. I'm not even talking about the one in fucking Hilgren lands. There's one right outside of Freeburg that we have not killed yet. So, plus all the desperate poor people.
I'm just saying that if you perhaps moved away from the main flow of information, it wouldn't be untoward for all of us.
Look, my goddess and her demigod helper have directly stepped into my fucking skull to tell me about Doom. There's no escaping it for me wherever I go.
If it's not Len, it's going to be someone else. Runa says,
With a
waking
mouthful
up
of
for a
fish.
moment, having heard the conversation.
With a mouthful of fish.
Yep.
Dunks her
Len is-
head in the water.
Len is no. I picture her laying there, like Aruna's laying there with her hat over her eyes, like dozing, and just being like, "If it's not him, it's gonna be someone else."
And then she sits up, checks. She's like, well, I'm awake now. Gets up, checks the water for sirens before just splashing herself with some water.
Gotta check for sirens now.
She's
There's
back on the
thankfully-
water, and let me tell you, that used to be her worst fear as a kid.
Yep.
That stuff sticks with you.
And then he kind of points at Ruin, and he's like, oh yeah, and then, the embodiment of ruin and rot not only killed an Iron Prince, but is apparently trying to destroy the...
Still trying not to think about the Iron Prince dying from melting. Still not over the melting. Still not.
There's one other thing that I didn't tell everybody because I wasn't sure that anybody not directly on the council should know. Petrushka showed me a lot of other civilizations besides the Cernith that have been sealed away, with the Wachtturm being the key. All of them, each of them could just wipe humanity from the map if they're unleashed.
This
Well,
is
that's
So,
not awful to think about at all.
I've been
Yeah.
trying to deal
No.
with that too.
I hate that for you, and I'm very sad.
Rock! As she rushes to move the boat.
I'm very sad that you have to deal with that. I'm gonna do my best to forget you said that.
Okay. I'm gonna have to tell everybody else when we get back anyway. If nothing else, Hans needs to know. Because I'm pretty sure whatever the Scotman has going on is at least tangentially related to the Wachtturm and all of that.
What
He can
what
clearly see the future, and he still hasn't told me.
what can we do about it, Len? What can we seriously do about it? What can we do about something like that?
I don't know. I don't know why she told me this. Things were bad enough, and then she's like, oh, by the way, first, for a moment, I'm going to let you experience knowing everything.
Okay.
Literally,
Okay.
my-
All right. Okay.
No, I need to get this off my chest to somebody.
You're going to have a heart attack.
My
Really,
goddess.
you need to just fucking breathe sometimes.
Try.
You're most when
The
you're
most
dealing with all of
wound
this,
up.
you get really uptight,
Yes.
and I think you just need to breathe.
The most tightly woven pseudo-Russian I've ever met in my life.
You've never met anybody from Asura, then I have to guess, because that
There were
just kind of
guests. There were guests at the court and such.
Mm-hmm. And how unwound were they?
Well, Shrews is pretty good about getting people to unwind, if I do say so myself.
Any Asuran that I met was probably less happy to be seeing us.
That's fair.
So there's a like just a kind of memory like stirring for Runa that I want to like bring up of that, with the kind of idea of like Len being like tightly wound and on a ship full of Vestan warriors. Egos were large and tempers sometimes short. And one of the things that you most like, Red himself was actually sort of like one of the most short-tempered, and Hardlaw, who was like the bosun who kind of kept order and stuff like that. Every time Red would like really lose his temper and almost go berserk, Hardlaw would like take him and march him to the side of the boat and just shove a fishing pole in his hands. And like it was like he was grounded until his temper had like gone back down. It was kind of like the like place people went to cool off and calm down and recenter themselves.
The naughty pirates corner. Go fish until you feel
like,
better.
Yeah, like go fish until you calm down, because there wasn't a lot of places to go, but it was, you know, one of the most relaxing things to do. So
I would also posit that most Asurans haven't. I was just gonna say most Asurans haven't dealt with what we dealt with. Yeah, trying to survive the winter is one thing, but knowing that at any point one of our failures could have resulted in the deaths of thousands or tens of thousands is kind of a different thing. Time with Rosa helps, but
I think fishing would help a lot, actually.
Weirdly, I agree.
On a ship, there's not a lot to do to calm down, but fishing.
I'll take that under advisement. But I do have to tell you that in a more reserved manner, my goddess actually, for just a minute, let me know everything. And I mean everything. I knew why water flows the way it does. I knew what it was made of. I knew...
You still know everything?
No. And that's the galling part of it. It was like...
Unfortunate how that happens.
Yeah. And then it was gone. But I will say one thing that brought me peace. And it's the knowledge that as harsh as she is, Matrushka loves humanity. She loves all of us. I felt that love. I know that love. And that's also kind of helped, but I'm just glad you're all back. I also didn't like the whole council being scattered like that and not knowing if one of my friends wasn't coming back from storming that castle. You're muted.
Sometimes I forget that you guys can't check on people the way I can.
No, I can just turn into a cat and, you know, pee on things. And, you know, Baron Owl and stuff, but I'm still pretty proud of spraying that Inquisition talk.
You're smart. That's a very strategic way to use it.
So the camp of Montague kind of come up on it fairly quickly. There's still a few hours like march like overland to where they're still sort of staying outside of Posen's land, and there's sort of a new view of it, of realizing that like part of the reason Posen hasn't moved on them already has nothing to do with orders. It has everything to do with that he's in an elevated position with artillery, a lot of guns.
It's over, Posington. I have the high ground.
Has the high ground, and the mountains on either side are almost impassable. So there's literally a single approach. And she knows her shit enough to know that there's no way she's taking it from a general like Montague. Not without going around and going into Usura herself, which has historically not gone well for Eisen.
Can I say we brought a couple barrels of gunpowder, or would the other two not have allowed that on the boat?
I think storage-wise that's fine, and I think there's actually like, so I think Montague has set up like there's a small area where they're like receiving ships. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And they're covering them, like they're pulling them off, and they're getting them covered so they can use several of them at once, and they're also stockpiling some supplies there.
Okay. Well, at this point, Len knows people, so they'll get the boat settled, and he'll hop off, and he'll be like, "I come from Freeburg. I have news. I need to speak to Montague, please."
Yeah,
Oh,
and
go ahead. No, go ahead, Henry.
And honoring for this trip, she didn't really. She often, like commoners it up when she's doing like council business and stuff like that. She did not for this. She, even though it was really inconvenient and it was 2 days on a boat and stuff like that, she looks like a noble. She is dressed like a noble. She has, her hair done and all of that bullshit.
and with
Sorry.
the
No, it's just my
that's
throat.
Oh.
Remember, my love.
The lieutenant that you recognized before, Len,
The guy who shot me?
yeah. He's actually the one that's down here, like, handling this, which suggests the degree of importance that Montague has placed on it. Does that make sense? You know a trusted officer when you see one. He's definitely one of the trusted ones. And Henri, when you pass him, there's, I don't want to call it like Scatmandar. Does that make sense? But like you can almost tell that there's some sort of touch of the forest on him.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Maybe the scent, like the slightest scent of blackwood or something.
Kind of like it's like an almost like amber scent. Like the amber of the trees is very distinctive. Their sap is like what supposedly draws monsters, and he vaguely scents of it.
Okay.
He's also clearly Eisen in origin, not Montaigne.
Okay.
But yeah, he does not seem to have the same awareness of honoring. He just, is like, he's a little bit like surprised by the dress, but like he's not about to say anything to a Montaigne noblewoman.
Certainly hope not.
And they have horses that are there that can help get them up to the camp quickly. They're not going to move the barrels because they have definitely figured out that they're under observation as well. And so the best thing that they can do at this point is keep the exact amount of their supplies a secret and hidden around, so that if Posen were to send a significant force here, she wouldn't necessarily find everything that they've squirreled. But
makes sense. It's like, well, I need to speak to the man. We have news, and he's not going to like it.
He's like, take the horses. You can, you know the way by now. Do I need to send somebody with you?
No, I'm pretty familiar at this point.
All right. So quick survey. Are we good with going a little bit late today? I was intending to only do 2 hours, but I have not timed things perfectly. Are you okay with that, Glory?
Yeah.
Okay. The trip up the mountain is familiar to Len by this point, but also the last few times he's been flying it, so he hasn't quite had an appreciation for the grade of the road.
But he'll get them, everybody will get up the incline and get to the camp, and he'll do a quick scan for any green-eyed anything.
Yeah, it looks like they've learned to stay away. There are 5 very grumpy looking Usurans that are currently in cages with green eyes. And like not only are they in cages, but the cages have like wicker netting around them, so that like they couldn't transform into like a weasel and like slip out.
Yeah.
Um, and they are clearly like being well treated and well fed.
But no Ursarin likes to be locked up like this, especially not one with Petrushka's gift.
Yeah, Honorine definitely gives them a sideways look, like, okay.
Yeah, and when Montague comes out, he kind of like looks over them. He says these are all the second timers. Says everybody we captured, we released once.
Yeah.
He
Well,
says, so now he says, we intend to return them. He says, when we leave this camp, he says, we'll leave their keys.
Yeah.
What is, I have to know what Glory is laughing about so hard.
Just like, these are the idiots that didn't learn the first time. Yeah. Clearly they're not that bright and we should keep them out of harm's way.
For their own safety.
Well, and then we'll kind of pause and just say, as with other rulers, they may have no choice. Our kings our Gaiuses have historically not been averse to holding family hostage against successful missions and compliance.
And Montague says, I owed them no ill will. He says, I also don't care to let them out the run of the camp.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just making sure you knew. But we should probably talk in your tent.
He sees like both like Ruda and Honorine, and it's like a belated reaction that he bows deeply to Honorine, recognizing her as a noblewoman.
She kind of nods back.
He says, yes, let me invite everyone into the camp. And he moves into the tent. Like a tent of his size is designed for a nobleman traveling, and so it's designed to have all sorts of like functional niceties that they wouldn't be able to have like otherwise. His has entirely been turned over into like necessary space for like running a campaign. Yeah. There's nothing but like tables with maps, like just like letters, everything that's needed to like write more. Every single thing that he has been able to turn into like a piece on the board to track like where different forces are. Like you can see that there are like some of it is like leftover bits of food that is just like stale enough that like nobody's going to eat it. It is now like cavalry unit or something.
Yeah.
The broccoli charge.
The broccoli charge.
And Kathrinia is there and brightens the sight of Len and gives him an embrace. And, but it looks at things, she has clearly been sort of like learning military strategy by osmosis and helping out in whatever way that she can.
I'll let my companions introduce themselves.
I am Honorine Rosemary Tiffen Cease to Cease.
Out of character, I'm going to admit I was doing that mostly because I could not remember all of Honorine's name for the fucking life of me. Go ahead. Sorry, Runa.
I'm
Runa. I think I even left a couple names out.
He bows very respectfully to Runa as well. Like it's more of like a nod of the head. Like he recognizes she's not introducing herself as a noblewoman, but he's still treating her with like respect by proxy of like my allies have brought this person. So does that make sense? But he does kind of like look back up at Honorine, and his face is like grave for a moment. He says, were you engaged to Tomos Rosa Rhines to groan.
Not recently. And she's looking at him very intensely, like she knows.
He
And
says,
she's
but
gonna
you were
see what
engaged to her. Engaged to him.
Yes.
He says, I am terribly sorry to tell you that he has died in my service. I'm still intent on returning his body to Charus to be interned with his family. He says, I also know, and he moves over to a desk and he opens like a small box on it. He takes out like a little journal. It's bloodstained, but Honorine recognizes it immediately because Tomas wrote anything he needed to remember down in it. And he had the same one for years.
And it's one thing to like have seen in a dream. Like it's one thing to like have a vision and not be like fully used to visions or whatever. But it's another thing entirely to know. And so Honorine like fully turns like kind of so pale she's gray, right? And if there isn't a chair behind her, like somebody best catch her, because
immediately.
Runa pulls her into a hug.
It's actually Montague. Like, the moment he sees it, kind of like moves and he has her arms and he just kind of like nods to the chair that's like nearby. He's like, "Pull that over, please."
Scoot.
And he helps set her down. Like he treats her very much like a lady throughout it. He like helps her into the seat. And he's like, "If this is too much, I don't have to continue."
No.
I just want to point out that I had no idea this was going to happen. I'm so sorry, Honorine.
Go on.
Runa was just wheels.
Yeah.
We're just like, I'm just a getaway driver.
Well,
he says,
She's of course like there for Honorine.
Yeah. She can kind of hang out with Honorine and be an emotional support.
An emotional support, Runa.
Emotional support pirate. There you go. Well,
Tomas served as my personal aide during much of the fighting after his ability to transmit messages back to Charus. He had the use of Forte. He says was critical, especially during our early weeks. My requests for reinforcements, for additional supplies, all of them went through Tomas, he says, and it was during an ambush that he threw himself in the way of a bullet meant for me. He says he spent many hours talking with him late into the night. He says it was devastating to lose him, but I cannot imagine that what I felt is anything close to what you are feeling now.
What are you going to do with that? And she is looking at the journal.
He says I was going to return it to you as per his request. He talked about you all the time. He said he intended to defy his aunt and run away with you if it was necessary.
That's why he joined. That's why he came out here.
He says, I am incredibly sorry. I can't put into words. And he offers her the journal.
She'll take it and sort of set it in her lap, like she's got her hands like kind of curled around it. So tight. insisted on coming with Len to get the sense of what plans you have for Sharuz.
He takes a chair and he pulls it up and kind of like gestures around to like the other chairs, like inviting everybody to do the same. He says, some time ago I received a letter stating that my wife is with child. That child will be the heir to the Emperor's throne. And because the Emperor does not wish me to have any influence upon that child, he is trying to be rid of me. These are the words of my wife. He says, the ninth daughter of the Emperor, and I trust them to be true. We have not seen eye to eye on many things, but the words ring to me.
People were willing to kill to keep that letter from you.
So said the man who delivered it.
We're the ones who gave that to him. That's a story for another time, though.
He folds his hands together. He says, I fully believe that if I walk back into Sharuz, that I will be tried and executed in as quick and as public a fashion as Lemper can muster. Says, and I believe if that happens, a fire will rage across Montaigne that will destroy more of Montaigne than it will allow to preserve. Says, capturing a man like the Emperor, a man with Porte at his grasp and the ability to disappear to anywhere in the world with the use of magic, not to mention that most of his closest nobles possess similar magics that can take him other places, nigh impossible. Says, even if we were to lay siege to the city, it's unlikely that we would capture him. He looks thoughtful. He says, it's also clear to me that Montaigne cannot continue in the fashion that it has much longer. He looks to Honorine. He says, I'm sure you must know that to be true as well. The Emperor's excesses damn the people.
So what will you do?
He says, I will make my case to the noble families of Montaigne. That they have an opportunity to turn the tide and to have a government in which not all power is given unto one man. I am not a revolutionary. I'm not a man of philosophy. I'm a soldier who's been given a task and has always been very good at doing it, he says, and very lucky as well. I'm not interested in being placed in charge of Sharuz. I would have no idea how to run Montaigne. It's a thing I would be terrible at. And we should no more be ruled by generals than we should by emperors.
What was the last word?
We should no more be ruled by generals than we should by emperors.
Are you intending to try to force revolution at Sword Point? Will you siege the city?
I do not. I intend to make my case to the nobles, and I do not intend to besiege any cities to make that point. I intend to send messages from my camp.
How are you going to avoid just having the Emperor march endless troops over you when you set up your camp, wherever it's going to be? If it's going to be close to the city, so you can do this, won't he just wear you down and have you killed anyway?
It says half of the Emperor's army is in Castile. The other half's with me.
He has already disbanded the musketeers. Right? It was the musketeers. I'm not
Yes.
hallucinating. And
No, you're not. You're not
Okay.
hallucinating.
He's already disbanded the musketeers. It's only the lightning guard remaining.
Says then I will make a case to the musketeers as well.
You're the captain of the musketeers. His brother took a bullet for you.
Says, and I have heard nothing but of the honor of that captain. I believe that if he serves the Emperor, it is because it is his duty. And if he can be persuaded to believe that he has a wider duty to all of Montaigne, then I think he may act on it. He says, I know this. He says, I know a wildfire burning out of control is the worst possible thing for Montaigne. And the Emperor's current course ensures that that will be the inevitability.
How will you force the Emperor to give up his heir, his only heir?
I'm open to suggestions.
And from the look on Honorane's face, that is not the answer that she was hoping he had.
He smiles and he says, I believe my wife is clever enough to get out of the clutches of the Emperor.
But she has to have somewhere to go.
He nods. He says, and I have troops that I trust would be able to get into Charus and get her out with the minimum of bloodshed. Specialists who have operated behind enemy lines for the entirety of their careers. Says their entire job is to do things with stealth, and they're very good at it. Says, I said what I said because you are a Sice du Sice, and last I heard, your aunt was very close to the Emperor himself.
Well, currently it's not by choice.
He isn't trying to make her his fourth wife, is he?
No.
God, I hope not. That poor woman. We really got to get her out of there.
She's a guest in his palace right now. If anyone could convince him to give your wife back, it would be her. But I don't think he's inclined to listen to anything she has to say right now.
If your aunt is the unwilling prisoner of the Emperor, and I am already planning on breaking out his daughter, I imagine they cannot be kept far from one another.
Well, at the very least, if they have to choose which target to chase after, they're not going to choose my aunt.
It's true. He says, and they're very unlikely to do anything which remotely risks the health of the Emperor's only heir.
She. How long ago was that letter?
Not 9 months, but enough that she's probably real close. You're pretty sure Jemay would have told you if there was like an airborne, though.
Probably, but like also Jemay has some stuff on her mind. So Audrian's like, her comment's gonna be like, she may have already birthed the child.
Son.
The son. My apologies.
And he just like bows his head in understanding.
She may have already. Well, he certainly doesn't have to worry about her health for long. Either way. Which I'm sure you knew.
She was not exactly in his favor before she became a child. That's why she was married to a commoner.
Oh, no, not with the rumors.
The problem with getting her out, though, is going to be keeping her and the child out. Doesn't the Emperor have a very powerful Strega?
That Strega is her mother.
Do you know where she stands in all of this?
I don't think anyone really knows where she stands.
With the Emperor, almost certainly.
I think more complexly with her own family. There was a rumor some time ago that she came into the affections of a Vadachi sculptor while still the Empress, and that
that's the rumor I was referring to.
Oh yeah, I think he's kind of like articulating it.
Okay, I was like.
He says, so to say that she does not have the friendliest relationship with the Emperor, a man who has already executed, or who's already lost 2 wives.
Yeah. Well, that's more planning for the future. For the more immediate, the reason that we came, things have changed rather suddenly, and information has been given to us. He's gonna have the letter that was written from Wilma and hand it over, and he's like, the Emperor has actually paid Posen, or offered to pay Posen 10 million guilder for your head. The only reason I think she hasn't come up this hill is because of how defensible it is.
Be a very bad idea. Yeah. She's not one for bad ideas.
No, not even for 10 million guilder. But the river was being watched the entire time we came up it, the entire length of it. She had spies and hunters and others watching it. And with the current plan, if we try and take you down the river, you're sitting ducks. She'll line it with archers and siege weapons and sink everything.
Katharinia says the last few weeks have been keeping busy finding out where their scouts are operating out of, the ones who are keeping an eye. They're not staying there constantly. They switch out. They have rotations. But they also have a scout post that they report back to. And Montague nods. He says, the plan is when we move, we will strike that first, so we have as much time as possible before Posen gets word that we're on the move. He says, but if Posen will be coming for us, regardless of whether we cross the river or not, then perhaps the wisest course of action is to do battle with her.
Is it one you can win?
Says... like everyone can see like there are like gears turning in his mind. You know what I'm saying? Like you can almost imagine him pushing around some fish, and making different attack points and stuff like that.
Keys were never an option. I'm gonna keep ringing that joke for all it's worth.
Joke.
Henri looks at Kathrina while he's thinking, and asks, how far away are the posts from each other? Are they, if they were to lose one, or two or three, would it disrupt them very much, or would they be able to? Are they close enough together to rebuild quickly?
Jesus, I'm not really an expert. Montague says if we were to hit all of them simultaneously, we might have a 2 or 3 day head start from Posen. On the other hand, if our timing is poor and a scout comes out to replace and finds all of the posts destroyed, we might only have 12 hours.
Well, the other part that I wanted to tell you is that the ghosts have been mostly shattered. A force of the Wakund and some notable figures from the Freeburg Council set out to the keep that Hilgrind and his family had been based out of, and basically purged the ghosts there.
We evicted them. They were doing terrible things in that castle, and they needed to be gone.
So Hilgrind lands probably, bandits and such, but there are no cohesive forces truly left. So that gives you an option if you need to pull off the boats and leave Posen on the other side of the river while you move. Or you send
There is
deep-
the issue of very large for Schlingen, though.
Yeah, they don't have to go near the Verschlingen.
So the actual palace of the Heelgrind is like all the way on like the west of Heelgrind's lands, and they're actually doing all this over in the east, so they're probably as safe from the Verschlingen as they can be.
I just know that like its domain was kind of expanding too, so
Yeah, absolutely. So Montague gets up and he kind of moves over to like the map board where everything is like set out, and you see him he's like picking up a few pieces of like different food, chunks of wood, whatever they represent. And what they represent is probably like sealed in his brain, but not like clearly elaborated. That said, I will let you guys make some strategy rolls to kind of like, if you want to make a wits and strategy, just get a sense of the strategy that he's coming up with.
Can I roll anything with Sailor?
No, not in this case.
So that's gonna be 6.
This is exclusively the commander skill if you have it, but
Oh, it's not strategist?
yeah, sorry, strategist. Commander is the old name for it.
So if I have nothing, I'd just be rolling with straight wits.
Yep.
12.
I suppose I should roll.
A lot of 5s I rolled.
26.
She knows the name of the maneuver he's using.
What did you get, Lynn?
Oh,
24.
Okay.
I saw the 43 and thought it was Honorines.
No.
Yeah, for a moment I did too, and I was like, what the fuck?
No. So
know.
both Len and Honorate are really kind of recognizing that, like, they don't exactly get all the strategy, but one of the key things of the strategy is that it does involve a very dangerous concerted press into Posen's lands before a withdrawal. Does that make sense? Like, you could see that part of his strategy looks like a spear into Posen's lands and then a rapid retreat.
A feint?
He kind of looks over. He says, "No." He says, "Posen's artillery will tear us apart." He says, "Eisen artillery is the best in the world, bar none." He says, "and hers has range that's nearly double our own." He says, "We need to disable or take it to stand a chance of retreat."
What if we blew it up?
He says, "Then we have a chance."
I suppose it depends on how well she keeps her magazine.
He says, "We are talking about a woman," he says, "respected throughout all 7 continents for her military discipline.
Yeah, that's
I do
fair.
not suggest it will be easy."
One could hope that would be simple as, you know, an owl dropping a torch, but I don't be that simple.
He says, "No, I think it will take a lightning strike inside of their lines, moving before they realize that we've gotten to them." He says, "Taking the artillery out."
Okay.
Lightning strike, you say? I'm sure something like that could be arranged.
I think he means like a lightning strike of people. Like, I don't think your lightning is going to be any better at suddenly blowing up all of our gunpowder.
He says,
Work.
Can you call down lightning?"
She can call down lightning.
Lightning too.
And then his thoughts kind of like, he says, "Can you call down storms?"
I can learn how to do so. Well,
He
in
says-
theory, I know.
He says, "Rain, a lot of rain." He says, "Will render the artillery completely ineffective." He says, "If it's a thunderstorm, they won't be able to sight in on us."
I can help you with this.
He says that precludes the need for an entire strike. He says it would still be of value in disabling artillery in the long term, but simply not being able to bring it to bear while we cross the river will be invaluable.
Perhaps it is good I came then.
He kind of he moves the like entire, there's like a as he like drags the table over to like the middle so that it's in the center, and he begins to like gesture and explain. He says, "We are here and we have enough ships that we could move 10% of my forces downriver." He says, "It'll take weeks of buildup before we have enough to move a larger amount, but we have enough ships now that if we chain them together we can cross the river quickly." He says, "If we're struck during that crossing, we'll be destroyed. We'll be wiped out without a problem." He says, "But if we can get to the other side," he says, "and look like we've retreated deep into Hilfgren's lands and leave the boats behind, it will be an enviable temptation. I don't think Posen would be foolish enough to commit her entire troops to crossing in a similar fashion." He says, "But if we can use a thunderstorm and put pressure from the rains that she has the opportunity to follow now or perhaps lose us forever, then that might be exactly what happens. She might goad her troops to crossing after us, at which point we can reveal ourselves from hiding and strike, sink the boats, and cripple her forces."
And what if we had, say,
Honda's going, "I wish I was there."
Well, you know, that may still happen, but mine is like, and if we possibly say had a force like the Wakund on the border before this happened, massing like they might step into Posen lands,
He
would that
says
split her focus?
it would, he says, but it would also commit Posen's almost certainly to attacking Freiburg.
Well, I think that's something we can
He
discuss.
kind of, he says, I don't know what the status of your forces is, but we have used Kithrinya's abilities to get an accurate, relatively accurate map of how many forces we believe are under Posen's control. He says, even my army at its full strength, he says, would have been evenly matched. He says she has nearly 250,000 soldiers under her command. Han's like, wait, never mind. No,
Whoa, that's a lot of people.
He's like, rewind.
he says, even if we accomplish this, he says, and take the boats out from under them, he says, we won't inflict a devastating loss on their forces as a whole, but we will make it almost impossible to follow us, and we will have done enough damage that she will reconsider her avenue of attack, which might buy us enough time to get into Montaigne lands.
What if
How
she
do you-
follows into Montaigne?
I think the Emperor would be less inclined to pay her if she invaded Montaigne lands.
If she invaded or was chasing an enemy of the Emperor?
I think the Emperor would view them both the same. Actually, I know for a fact that he would, because he had spoken to me candidly about the prospect of goading some of the Iron Princes into attacking Montaigne so that he could take more of their land.
He doesn't like people touching his things.
Was that before or after he had an heir to protect?
It was before.
So I'm just saying the calculus may have changed, and
Yeah.
you may
You're
not.
not wrong.
It does not seem like the line of Montaigne lands is necessarily a line of safety for you.
No, I think I'll be trading one danger for another. It says, but I don't believe Posen would cross in pursuit of me without the permission of the Emperor.
What lands would I'm just this is as much out of character as in, but what lands would they have to both cross through to get there in the first place?
So that's kind of where it gets interesting, because Montague's either going to have to go through Fischler lands, and thus the Black Forest to cross into Montaigne, or he's going to have to go through Von Wisch lands and cross through another passage there. But that's going to mean like going back up north and being dangerously close to Posen. Montague probably has no idea about the potential danger that the Black Forest represents.
Yeah.
His lieutenant does, though.
Yeah, but he may not be aware that that's the plan in the long term.
So they're looking at a map of Eisen with crumbs across it, right? Is that what we're looking at on the table?
And malformed bullets that can't be used, that would have to be recast, but they have like a flat side so they can serve as a marker. It's just like a collection of riffraff. I'm gonna switch this over to the map of the Eisen real quick.
Does it look like he's gonna does it look like he's going to try to go through the Black Forest?
It makes the most sense from, if he's wanting to avoid Posen, the path that takes him most directly is going through Hilgrun's lands into Fischler lands and then crossing through the Black Forest back into Montaigne.
Where is
It's
Montaigne
also
in regard to this map we're looking
It's
at?
to the west.
Okay.
Some of Seeger's lands had to be given up for cease lands in Montaigne.
I got
Yep.
Which he's kind of butthurt about, but
Yeah.
doesn't want to let people to know that.
He's a little annoyed about it.
Len's just
Yeah.
gonna kind of tap the forest and look at Honorine like, do we tell him?
What do you know about your route?
He says, what you've told me about Hilgrun lands, that the ghosts have been largely dispatched there. He says, and that the land itself is not going to be so dangerous as the people who are hungry and desperate within it.
DM, it looks like the Black Forest ends though before the border. Like, is it?
Yeah, that's an inaccuracy.
Okay.
These trees should go all the way right up to the mountains and then be in and amongst the mountains. So, I did this map based off of what was like in the books. So That's my bad.
She's gonna say you should take the northern route. You should take the northern pass through Fische.
He says that will be the safer course, even with Heelgrund out of the picture.
I believe so.
I hear Rory yelling over there. I don't hear it, but I see him.
I believe
We
so.
have reason to know that the Black Forest does not suffer armies to move through it.
No.
He kind of like
Your man that met us at the docks, I think he's from the area. I think he knows.
Now, if you could trick Posen into going into the Dark Forest, that would take some pressure off of you, or the Black Forest. But that's on you to figure out how to do it.
Listen, I don't want my girlfriend anywhere near my boyfriend, okay?
Just say it is all.
Your girlfriend.
You're too young for her.
You're not any older than
You're
her.
young.
You're younger than Runa. Runa's not actually too young for her. She just assumed.
He looks to the map and he says, most immediately, we must get away from Posen.
Yes.
He says, I will take under advisement your counsel as regards to
If you insist on going through the Fischler lands,
lands.
we can let me know and we can arrange that conversation. But once again, going through the Black Forest will be the most dangerous thing you can do for your men.
Len, I think Kathrinia is perfectly capable of arranging that conversation if he goes through Fischler lands.
That's fair.
Kathrinia nodded. She's like, that had been my suggestion, so as to avoid antagonizing Vish in any way.
Used to doing things. But I don't have to do everything, it's true.
It's possible that if you send an emissary to Visha, that you mean no harm, that you mean to simply pass through. They have enough of their own issues going on right now that they may well heed you.
And for those with some memory from the council meeting as a whole, Wishlands are in such disarray that they're paying all of their guardsmen with IOUs, and most of them are several months behind, to the point where the storekeepers in Wishlands are accepting IOUs instead of currency.
They've moved to paper, but there's nothing backing the paper.
Oh.
Gilder
it's company
is paper,
script,
but so we're at the half-hour mark afterwards, and so we ended up doing a 2.5-hour session anyway. But it is late enough that I know people got to get up in the morning.
You can't help yourself. You can't stop yourself.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we were all like, yeah, bro, that's fine. Let's do another half an hour. Yeah, buddy. Hey.
Yeah, but it was also I know we started later and everything. So
anyway,
I'm going to drop the curtain there because I know that people got to work in the morning. So, and it's late. All right. Quick suggestions for RP bonus?
I think Len and Honorine.
Yeah, the little spat was. I enjoyed that.
Fuck you.
That was really funny.
I did. Yeah, I loved Hans's fish strategy. Yeah. It was a great little moment.
So Honorine and Hans, they're my votes.
I don't mind giving out 3 this session if it's pretty close. So we'll do Len and Honorine and Hans, and I'm going to do 3 XP plus drama dice. So
Thank you.
Also, Bruna, I believe, is up next for the next cold open.
Traumatizing.
That's fun.
The next traumatizing. So, and we've had our off week, so our next off week isn't for like months. So, well, like I think it's in October, but
It's November.
yeah,
The
November.
9th of November.
Thank you.
Remember the 9th of November.
Although, DM, you may wish to consider having off for Thanksgiving week. I'm not sure. Maybe not.
I mean, I took the week off, but I don't really have plans other than we're going to have a lot of turkey and such.
I'm planning on going on it
Okay.
for now, unless
Okay.
there's a compelling reason not to. But all right, so thank you for everyone watching us on YouTube or live on Twitch. Audience participation always means the world to us. And if you're on YouTube, smash the like, hit the subscribe, make a comment in the down below.
Thank you,
Here at Dirty
Siosa.
20,
Thank you, Siosa.
here at Dirty 20, we always send out with the same call to action. Be nice. Be kind when you have the spoons, but even when you're not, be nice. Even when you don't, be nice. Be nice to strangers. Be nice to family. Be nice to your loved ones. Most importantly, be nice to yourself. Thank you for coming on this journey with us, and we'll see you next week for
Bye.
the 42nd episode, which is the meaning of life.
Bye.
Bye.
With 42.